shooting leads to a violent crash on Printers Row.
That's right. This morning, police are searching for suspects that were seen fleeing that scene, and some witness video might just help in a big way. Tia is live with details. Tia, what's the latest?
Well, Scott and Anita, what I can tell you is that a family member of the victim did confirm for me that the man dead is Zach Stoner. He was 30 years old, and he was known as a superstar to the South Side. We do have a picture of Zach that we want to show you right now on your screen. I can tell you that he turned 30 years old not too long ago.
So you can obviously see I'm going to talk about the death of Zach. And the first thing I'm going to say is I don't believe he was in that hotel. The person that was in that hotel, the top they have on has a different description. There's no lines on the pocket the same way there was lines on Zach's pocket in the Zach interview that he did with Irene. There's also, when you look at him, people are confusing dreads with a top that he has on under his hoodie. When you look at him from the back, you can see that he looks to have no hair or very short hair. You can see the back of his hair. You can also see that there's no, for me, in my opinion, there's no dreads coming around the side that would fall in the place where people think that his dreads are coming down, that he does sometimes wear. I don't believe that that person has dreads. The lines on his clothing as well in the footage are thicker than what are on Zach's clothing. If you look at the lines, the lines on Zach's clothing, the lines that are on his shoulders, they're similar in size to the lines that are on his pocket. So if this man in the hotel if it was Zach and he was wearing the same top, you would see both. You can see the lines on his shoulder, but you can't see the lines on his pocket. So this is a different person. This is a different, well, it's a different hoodie anyway. So if you're using the fact that he's got a similar hoodie to say this is Zach, that's in the hotel, that's not valid for me. If you believe Zach was in the hotel, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, as long as you can have facts that back it up for you to say you 110% believe that was him. Otherwise, state it as an opinion, because people will get confused. This is not to get anyone that believes that was Zach. This is just my opinion. But I don't believe that was Zach from the explanation that I've given you. And we need to be very careful when we do these things. Even the colour, it's a similar colour, but I feel that if it was, it wouldn't go to that dark blue that it is. You know, it's more of a greeny colour, greeny blue. Okay, so I just don't believe that was Zach. And also, how many people would have these clothing? How many people would have similar clothing? How many people would wear the same clothes? And I believe it's not even the same clothes. It's not even the same hoodie. So yeah, in my opinion, I don't believe that's Zach. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. So here I've slowed it down a little bit so I can talk and you can understand what I'm saying a bit clearer. But the guy with the white top on that's closest to those double yellow lines that gets out of the back of the car, he ends up walking round to the front of the car on the other side. And there is somebody sitting in that car. You see the door open and they don't get out. So there is someone else that we don't even see. Okay, you can see the door closed back. There's someone in that car on that side. Okay, I'll zoom in and let you see it clearer. The guy in the red that runs over, I feel like this is when Zach was either threatened, shot, I don't know. Maybe for a second time. You see the other guy in the white top walk over and he walks off. This guy, pay attention to him. One that walks off, meets up with the guy in all black. He walks away from the scene. He wants nothing to do with it from what I see. Then the guy in the black who's come from nowhere goes round to the front of the other car. He's kind of running over there. He's come from nowhere. I believe there was a third vehicle involved. I have a news clip that I want you to listen to, and I want you to pay attention to what the man says. He has like a wound on his eyebrow. Pay attention to what he says, and then I'll break it down after.
A whole bunch of gunshots. Then I heard someone screaming. And when I came around the corner, there was a whole bunch of people standing there saying they killed Jack.
And who's Jack? Do you know who Jack is?
I guess that's the guy in the car. And then they jumped in another car and left. The first car, when the shooting went flying past that way, it was like a beige van. I didn't see who was in that car.
So now you've listened to what he said. He mentions like a cream-coloured van, a beige van, light-coloured van. And that was the first vehicle that shot and drove off. He doesn't connect it. When he talks about the car that was shooting, he straight away talks about another vehicle straight after it. I'll play it again.
And then they jumped in another car and left. The first car, when the shooting went flying past that way, it was like a beige van. I didn't see who was in that car. And then they jumped in another car and left. The first car, when the shooting went flying past that way, it was like a beige van. I didn't see who was in that car. And then they jumped in another car and left. The first car, when the shooting went flying past that way, it was like a beige van. I didn't see who was in that car.
So it's easy to, for me, I believe it's easy to confuse that. Because what I think he's saying is there were shots getting fired into this car and that van drove off. It sped off as he came to see what was, like, as he realised what was going on. He saw that he didn't see who was in that car, in that van. The car that you see at the back that all these guys run and get into. He talks about the van and that car as two different vehicles. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is I believe there was another vehicle that drove off, and the guy that you see in the black, I believe he could possibly have been coming from that vehicle. We see him walk off with the guy that comes out of the car, goes over to Zach's car with the guy in the red top, who I believe attacked him, shot him, I don't know. He walks over, has a quick look and walks off like, I'm not having nothing to do with this. I don't know why, but that's what he does. He talks to the guy in the black, but instead of the guy in the black going back to where he came from, the guy in the white goes in the direction he came from, and the guy in the black goes over to the car. Okay, so I do believe there is another vehicle, especially from how this man describes what was going on. Also, there is a part where just after we see the man in the black and there's a man in a white t-shirt running from the car that crashed into Zach's car, that obviously probably doesn't work anymore. As they're getting called to come, we hear like a bang. That could be the car door as they're shutting it. But he also lifts up his hand, and then there's a slight blur on that side of the car where a bullet would hit that car, as if he's shot the car as he's walking off, and his hand does lift. I'll zoom in and show you. It is a little bit difficult to see because there is a glare from the lamppost that is on the street, and it's still hard for me to decipher whether it is a gunshot. But I'm swaying more towards a gunshot because I've looked and it doesn't really happen at other parts of this footage, and it's right on point. There's also like a squeal after we see this blur, like there has been a shot fired. So that's something else that I think we need to look at.